Now, let's look for a second at retirement loans. Never borrow against your 401k. How many of you know that your 401k will let you borrow against it? Raise your hand if you know that. Okay, good. Don't do it. Lots of magazine articles and these cheesy little money magazine type things give you bad advice on this. They say, oh, it's cheap money. I mean, you got a credit card at 18%. If I borrow against my 401k, I'm doing that at like 5 or 6 or 7%. And besides that, I'm paying myself the interest. And that's how these articles tell you to do it. Well, all of that's true. It is 5 or 6 or 7%, and you are paying yourself the interest. But what these idiots didn't take into consideration was that when you start, the amount that you loan yourself is unplugged from the investment. So instead of making 12 or 14 or 15% on a decent growth stock mutual fund, you're making 5 or 6% from yourself. Well, that's dumb thing number one. That's why you never borrow on a 401k. But the biggest reason is this. When you leave your company, and you will leave your company, you will leave your company to get a better job because they lay you off or because you die. You will leave your company. When you leave your company, the 401k loan is due in full right then. If you do not pay that loan off within 60 days, and this is a really good time to be paying a loan off when you're dead or broke because you got laid off. If you don't pay the loan off within 60 days, that's considered by the IRS an early withdrawal, and they're going to hit you with your tax rate of about 40% or 30%, and they're going to hit you with another 10% in penalties. So about half of that loan is going to be a big tax bill right in the middle of your layoff, or right after your husband dies, or whatever. That's what you're going to be facing if it was your husband's 401k. So these are the kinds of reasons you do not do this. I run into more messes with this, and everybody thinks it's a good way to get a debt consolidation loan is to borrow it from yourself. Dumb idea. You unplug a good investment, and you set yourself up for a huge tax bill. And it just seems that that's how that stuff always works. It all comes in bad times. If you're a federal government employee or you're in the military, you have the thrift plan, the federal thrift plan available to you. There are several types of things you can put money in, several different letters they have. There are 3 of them that I like. My suggestion is, if you have the thrift plan available to you, that you put 60% in the C fund. The C fund is a common stock fund. It works about like an S&P index fund, a growth stock mutual fund. So this is a good, solid mutual fund. It's averaging between 8 and 12%, somewhere in there. A good idea. I recommend that you put 20% in the S fund. The S fund is small companies, aggressive growth stock mutual fund type of a emerging markets type of a fund. Again, this thing has averaged right around 9% lately. The I fund, I put 20% in. The I is the international fund. Now, our suggestion is, baby step 1 is $1,000 in the bank. Baby step 2 is the debt snowball. Baby step 3 is a fully funded emergency fund. Then we get to baby step 4, and baby step 4 is 15% of your income going into retirement under all these different things we've been talking about. So it's kind of dizzy right now. Are you dizzy? I know this stuff, and teaching it, I'm a little dizzy right now. It's just like I feel like I'm chasing my tail up here. There's enough numbers and letters and stuff. It's a barrel of fish hooks. So let's just boil this thing down a little bit and figure out what we're going to do. Very, very, very carefully. If you make $100,000 a year, what's 15% of your income? $15,000. And so half of that, if I make $50,000 a year, my 15% would be $7,500. Does that sound right? So kind of get that types of figures in your head with your whole household income. And I want to put 15% in. Now the first place I would put 15% is in my 401k at my company or my 403b at my company if there's a match up to the match. How many of you have a match at your work? Good. The rest of you, forget I said that. Well, you're going to just move on to step 2 in a minute. But those of you that had a match, raise your hand again. Yell out to me what some of the matches are. 3%, 6%, 4%, 6%. There you go, 4.5%, okay. I'm hearing lots of 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, that kind of thing. Lots and lots of companies. By the way, about 75%, 76% of the companies do some kind of a match. The most popular match is about 3%. That's a pretty standard thing. That's what we do at our company right now. We do a 3% match with people in our 401k. So, the 3% match would work like this then. The first 3% that you put in, if you put in $1,000 into the 401k, your company adds $1,000 before anything happens. That's a good rate of return. You just made 100% on your money before we started. That works, doesn't it? Say yes. Yes. Okay, so you always take the match. So if you've got a 3% match, let's say you make $100,000 a year, so this is real simple. 3% would be $3,000. But we're trying to get to 15, right? But we're certainly going to do that 3 because that 3 is really good with a 100% rate of return. Then we're going to move to the next step. And the next step is you do the Roth IRA. Now, without the phone ringing back there and the government changing the laws, currently you can do a Roth IRA if you make under $150,000 a year, married, filing jointly. Right in that range, okay? So, if you make under that, then you're qualified for a Roth IRA. If you make under $150,000 a year, married, filing jointly. So, you would do a Roth IRA in our example because this is a $100,000 household income. Now, we said in our example in the year 2008 that $5,000 you can do in a Roth IRA, right? Okay, and we're not going to let the phone ring right now. We're just going to go with that as our example. So if this is a couple and they're married, they could do 5 each, couldn't they? Say yes. Yes. That would be 10, wouldn't it? So I've already put in how much? 3 in the 401k. Now I'm at 10. That's 13. I've still not gotten up to baby step 4, which is 15% of my income. You see how I'm doing this? I'm working my way up of wisdom upon wisdom upon wisdom. So now I've got match and I got tax-free. Well, all you got left now is go back to your 401k and put in another $2,000. So you got $3,000 going in matched, and you got $2,000 non-matched, and then you got your Roths working. That got me to 15%. If you were the $50,000 income, we'd be dealing with $7,500 as our target, and we at 3% would be $1,500. Means I need to do 6,000, right? So I could do 10 in Roths, but we're not doing 20%. We're only doing 15%. So 7,500 is the goal. I'm going to do 1,500 matching at my company. I'm going to do 6 in Roths, so I'm going to stop. That's all I'm going to do for right now. We'll come back later and do more in Roths. Come back later and do more in 401ks. But you stop there. So we're going to do matching, Roths, non-matching, until we get to 15%. Wherever along there you get to 15% of your household income, stop. Don't save 28% of your income, because we got some other stuff to do with this in these other baby steps for a little while. When we get some stuff cleaned up, we'll come back and load up everything. So for now, though, I'm going to give you a good healthy start with some muscle at 15%.
Security, you get it when you're older, when you stop working. Basically, when you run out of money, that's what you use is your Social Security.
Social Security is helping you save money for retirement.
You have your own personal Social Security number, and I guess what it is it helps you to I guess it would be to where you can access your information about personal matters.
Social Security is money that you pay now to help you out when you get older.
At least one of you out there watching is chomping at the bit to argue with me about retirement. Who cares at my age? Why do I have to have a plan for retirement if I'm paying taxes? Let me show you why you don't rely on Social Security. I call it social insecurity. Social Security was set up to pay retired workers 65 and above a continued income after retirement. Taxes, called FICA, the Federal Insurance Contribution Act, are taken out of every paycheck. In 1950, there were 16 workers paying into the system for every retiree. In 2006, there were 3 workers paying into the system for every retiree. Within 40 years, it will be only 2 workers per retiree. Yeah, but that's still more workers than retirees. Problem is this: at this ratio, there aren't enough workers to pay the benefits. Retirees are living longer, life expectancy is out there, and this means that they're going to collect more money than they paid in. In the Social Security Act of 1935, the words saving or save does not appear. And under the current law, the money you pay into FICA taxes is not saved for you, nor is it your property. This is why you don't rely on the government to fund your retirement. You do it yourself. You can't count on the Social Insecurity system. I'm not here to tell you the sky is falling, but even if you do retire on Social Insecurity, it's not going to be enough. It's not a lot of money. You're going to retire and have to buy that cookbook, 72 Ways to Prepare Alpo. Love it. So do retirement yourself. Now, how many of you in here are 27 years old or younger? Raise your hand. Good. So let's use you guys as an example. Let's say we had a 27-year-old couple in here, and it took them 3 years of blood, sweat, and tears, beans, and rice to go, baby step 1 is $1,000, baby step 2 is they paid off all their debts. That took them 2.5 years. And then baby step 3 is it took them another little 6 months to finish off baby step 3, and they got a fully funded emergency fund. So you're 27 years old in here, and by the time you get through baby step 1, 2, and 3, you're 30. You with me on that? See where I'm going? Let's look at the Great American Dream for just a second. Let's take that 30-year-old couple that is now free of debt except their home, and they partially fund a Roth IRA at $500 a month. They partially fund a Roth IRA at $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. We've already established that couple could do $10,000. And we're only going to do 6. If they put it in there and they made 12% rate of return in their mutual funds, then what would that be? $500 a month from age 30 to age 70 is $5.8 million. Tax free. That's $6 million bucks. I mean, wow! What if I'm half wrong? You're still going to be okay. The point is, this stuff works over time when you start laying it out. You get all caught up in all these numbers and stuff before you know it, but there's a reality to this. It's called my dignity has changed. There's a reality to this that says my family tree has changed. There's a reality to this stuff that matters. That's the Great American Dream. Most people are living the Great American Nightmare, paycheck to paycheck. 70% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, the Wall Street Journal says. I don't want to live that way. Number 1 cause of divorce in North America, money fights and money problems. You got a few less money fights if you got $6 million bucks. Just fighting over where we're going on vacation next. This is not a problem, right? It changes the whole situation, doesn't it? That same couple, let's say they put 15% of their income into a 401k without a match. Now they're an average couple. Average in North America as of this moment, according to the Census Bureau, the average household income is $40,000. If you make $40,000 a year and you save 15%, 15% of $40,000 is $6,000. $6,000 is $500 a month. Same numbers we used a minute ago. So they put $500 a month into just their 401k with no match in decent growth stock mutual funds. They average just what the market average. They don't do any better. I mean, they're below average in their fund picking. And they still end up with $5.8 million in the 401k. How fun would that be? How wild would that be? I mean, what if they did both? They'd have like $12 million. You know what you can do if you have $12 million? Anything you want. I mean, think about it. Do you understand that the interest is like $1 million a year? It's like $86,000 a month, $83,000 a month? This is hard to fathom. I mean, it takes about 3 months to buy everything you ever wanted. It takes about 4 more months to run your grown kid's life. And now we're just bored. I mean, this is hard to fathom emotionally, isn't it? It's hard to take in and believe. So wait, what if I'm way wrong? I mean, let's just say that these losers making $40,000 a year. Dave, I don't like you saying that. Well, I mean, think about the numbers I just ran. I said from age 30 to age 70, they made $40,000 a year. They started at an average household income and in 40 years never got a raise. That's a loser. By definition. I mean, if you breathe in and out and show up, they'll give you a raise. Eventually. Just Charlie's still breathing. I just feel bad. You know? Eventually, you'll get a raise. Some of you think I've hyped this up or something. It's really got all kinds of conservative things built into it. What if you made a little bit more? You know what the numbers would do if you went from 12% instead got 15% on your mutual funds, which I've averaged for about the last 10 years. That little bitty difference makes the thing go bananas, and you wouldn't even believe it, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Because then I'll get later, you can't get 15%. I mean, again, if I'm half wrong, the average American in North America can retire at least with dignity. At a minimum with dignity. And not be counting on social insecurity. Let's talk about it again. Let's review the baby steps. Baby step 1. $1,000 in the bank. One more time. Baby step 1 is? Baby step 2 is? Takes about a month for the first one. The second one takes an average of 18 to 24 months. A year and a half to 2 years to be debt-free, everything but the house. Gazelle intensity, paying off the smallest to the largest. Then finally get through that. I don't have any payments but a house payment. I could complete baby step 3 fairly quickly. Baby step 3 is? 3 to 6 months. I got $10 or $15 or $20,000 sitting there just for emergencies, no payments but a house payment. Feels like financial peace. Now I've gone past crisis and I'm ready to step over into wealth. And baby step 4 is 15% of your income. Baby step 4 is? 15%. Everyone pays Social Security taxes. You do not get out of paying Social Security taxes. The only exception are ordained pastors or ministers who have filed with the IRS a conscientious objection, meaning they on a religious basis object to the Social Security system, and then only the income they earn as pastors is exempt. In other words, if a pastor has another job doing something, he gets Social Security taken out on that, but his pastoral income can be exempt. That's all. Everybody else, all the rest of us, we get to pay into Social Insecurity. Baby step 5, save for your kids' college using tax-favored plans. When we say baby step 5 later, we're just going to say college, and we're all going to know what it means. Now, how many of you have kids at home or think you might someday that you want to save for college? About 75% of you in this audience, roughly. The rest of you, they're grown and gone, or you're just not planning to have kids or whatever. So you skip this step in that case, or you're past this step or whatever. But the rest of you, you've got to start saving for college, and you've got to start thinking about it. Now, I will tell you this. College savings has a tremendous amount of guilt with it. If I don't save for college, I'm a child abuser. No, you're not. No, you're not. How many of you in here, when you went to college, you paid for some or all of it? Your parents must have been child abusers. It's the way our culture thinks today, isn't it? I've met with single moms who are barely keeping food on the table for their kids, and there's tears running down their face because they feel guilty because they're not funding a college fund. And I look at her and say, they should just rise up and call you blessed for feeding them. That's the first thing. College is important. College is not life or death. And by the way, last time I checked, WORK will get you a long way through college. So you and I want to save for our kids' college. That's good. You and I want to save for our kids' college. We want to be a blessing to them, but you are not a bad parent by definition. You are not stupid for never having saved for college. But I do want to put that in the financial plan, and I want to get along here. But everybody wants to move it from back here because they're all guilted and freaked out, and they want to have the college fund funded before baby step 1. And then the alternator breaks, and we clean out the college fund. This is dumb, okay? College is not first. You'll get to it, or you won't, and life will go on. There's these neat things called scholarships and pizza places that let you work there and all these different kinds of things, right? There's ways to get through school if you want to get through school, and student loans aren't the way. So is it important? Yes, it's important. I'm an advocate of education. I teach for a living, so I'm huge on college. But it is not a right that you have because you breathe air, that you have the right to go to college.
Did you know there are lots of ways to pay for college without having to take out loans? Here are some ways to keep you from going into debt. Join the military. They have great programs that pay for college. Take testing seriously. You know those bubble tests that you take as a junior or senior that everyone hates, and some even make patterns with their bubble sheets? Some of those tests will offer scholarships if you have a high enough score. Colleges look at those scores and may offer additional scholarships. Check out the federal government's website and your state's website. Ask your counselor about local scholarships. Have your parents check at work. Many businesses offer scholarship money for employees' children. Don't forget about the big organizations. They provide lots of information besides scholarships. Some jobs offer college assistance. Not only can you earn a paycheck, but they will help put you through school. You should never pay anyone to find scholarships for you. Most resources are now on the internet, and they're free. Remember, the more options you explore, the better are your chances of getting free money for college.
What we're going to do is we're going to use the Educational Savings Account, the ESA, nicknamed the Education IRA, because it works like the Roth IRA does, but it goes just for college, which is very cool. We're trying to keep them from graduating like the average college senior did last year with $19,000 in student loan debt and $7,000 in credit card debt. So this is out of control. We don't want. It's how you start your life, $26,000 in debt and no job. I don't want to start my life that way. So we're trying to avoid that by saving and investing. Now, the IRA, the Education IRA, the ESA, allows you to save $2,000 a year. Currently, if the phone doesn't ring, and they change the law, check our website and you'll be able to stay updated and know what's going on. But currently you can save $2,000 a year. If you save $2,000 from zero, a baby, to 18 years old, 18 times 2 is $36,000. That money invested at 12% average annual return will grow from, over that period of time, that $36,000 will turn into about $126,000. And so we have $90,000 in growth that is tax-free. Taxes on $90,000 might be something like $20,000 or $25,000. So this little ESA jacket right here, this little jacket called the Education IRA in our little example is about a $25,000 or a $30,000 jacket per kid. Pretty important stuff. So we want to be sure we get the old letter jacket with the ESA embroidered right there on it. That's what we're going to do. So it's a very important little coat in that regard because they get to go tax-free. Now if you want to do more than that, because you're thinking grad school or you're thinking maybe Ivy League or something like that, then you would do this first because it's very flexible. You can do a lot of stuff with it. You control it just like an IRA. You could go to a 529. Now I'm not a huge fan of the 529 because there's so many different kinds of 529s. There's only one good kind. Avoid all the others. The one good kind is simply, it works like the ESA. You control and decide the mutual fund that's inside the code. If you don't like the mutual fund, you can move and go to another mutual fund inside the 529. If you are in any way restricted or they do something automatically for you with the 529, stay back. You want to be able to pick the mutual funds inside of there and move them around just like you would in an ESA or just like you would in an IRA. If you don't like them, you can move them around later. You do not want to be restricted. You control your destiny. That is a rule of thumb. You never put money in something you don't understand, and you control your destiny. Don't look for someone to babysit you and take care of you with a government plan. Always a bad idea. Now, the only type we recommend is, again, the ones that leave you in control. Never buy a plan that freezes your options or that automatically changes your investments based on the age of the child, and lots of 529s do that. They start out a little more aggressive, and as the kid gets older, they get more and more and more and more and more conservative, and really what ends up happening is about the time you need the money, they've really screwed the thing up, in my opinion. I wouldn't do that with my money. Now, if you've done the 529 and you've done the ESA, or if you make too much money to do the ESA, there's income limits on it, then you may want to look at the UTMA or the UGMA, the Uniform Transfer to Minors Act, or the Uniform Gift to Minors Act in your state. Most of them are UTMAs now, and this is an old way of doing things. Let me tell you, 1% of you in here will ever do an UTMA or an UGMA. You need to do the other two many, many times before that. Now, while this is one way to save with reduced taxes, it's not as good as the other options. UTMA stands for Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. The account is listed in the child's name and a custodian is named, just like when you open a savings account inside in your kid's name. If your child is not 18 years old, they cannot have an account without some adult's name on the account as a custodian. Same situation here. And so that's all an UTMA is. You're just opening a mutual fund in the kid's name. But the kid is in a lower tax bracket, so you'll save some money. But again, you're not going to use that very often. If you're not going to go to college, the college fund, if it is in something like an educational savings account or some of the other tax-protected accounts, is going to be penalized heavily. And so if you've got that laying there, you need to seriously consider that option. Here are some bad ideas for college. Never use insurance like whole life insurance or universal life insurance or variable life insurance to save for college. Dumb idea. How many of you got the little flyer from Gerber? The Gerber insurance plan to send your kid to college. Gerber makes baby food. There should be a hint in here somewhere. Never. That's a little dinky whole life plan, and it's a ripoff. Stay out of these little whole life plans for kids. Your kid will spend their whole life trying to go to college with that stuff. They won't have any money. So use a good investment and stay away from that junk. Don't use savings bonds. The average inflation rate of college tuition year in and year out, college goes up an average of about 7% a year. Savings bonds are running about 4 or 5% a year. So you're not even treading water. You're sinking just a little bit further every year. You're not even keeping up. I don't like prepaid tuition. Because prepaid tuition, you're exactly breaking even. When you buy something before you need to buy it, your rate of return is how much it goes up. So you're making about 7% on your money in prepaid tuition. I can be in a good mutual fund inside my ESA making 12 or 14 on average. And that's where I would much rather be. So the idea here is baby steps 4 and 5 we're doing at the same time. We're doing 15% of our income into retirement now, and above that we're going to find other money. That's why we held it down so that we could do baby step 5 and even start working on baby step 6 a little bit later. Those 3 you'll run at the same time until things get moving. Now when college is gone, when the house is paid off, we'll go back to baby step 4 and just max out all your retirement using all these plans. You probably did not understand every single thing we covered tonight unless you're a genius or already knew a bunch of it. And that wouldn't be unusual at all. So don't take that as a thing where you get all twisted up. This is just the beginning of your learning. Wealthy people use these little coats to keep the government off of their investments. That's the moral of the story today. And in this lesson, if you get that moral and you go out looking for coats all the time, you're going to be in good shape. It'll take you from fruition to tuition and all the way into wealth. Thanks for being here.
I got through college debt-free.
I am proud to say that this coming December I will be graduating debt-free.
I learned that I had to get a job at a young age and earn money, earn cash. Because if I wanted something, whether it was a car or a pair of jeans, I had to pay for it myself.
I wanted to graduate debt-free because the Dave plan has actually been in my life since I was about 15 or 16 years old.
I wanted to graduate debt-free because it was important to me to be able to start accruing a lot of savings right off the bat, as opposed to having to pay off a lot and not have enough money to get on my feet once I graduate.
I think it's very realistic for someone to go through college without having debt because it's just all about work.
The idea was to work for what I had, and the idea was to pay for everything through earning it. And when you do that, your whole situation's better.
If you really try to go through college without having that loan, I mean, you can do it, but it is hard.
Hey gang, here are some basics to remember from the lesson. Save long-term in tax-favored plans. A Roth IRA grows tax-free. That means if you have $2 million in your account when you retire, all the money is yours. And finally, never, 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 never borrow on your retirement plan.